Well, all those GMs probably going to get fired because this is a money business, and the money is about Caitlin Clark, who is the player who has made. Never in the history of the WNBA have we had a player force teams to get into larger arenas. I've never seen that happen. And so if you're the GM, you're obviously supposed to be bringing in money. That's revenue.
Right.
I'm going with Caitlin Clark.
What is happening around the Indiana Fever right now has exploded far beyond normal fan frustration, because this time the criticism is coming from one of the biggest legends the sport has ever produced. Lisa Leslie stepped directly into the controversy and immediately changed the entire tone of the conversation. She did not dance around the issue or hide behind polite basketball politics. Instead, she delivered a blunt message that instantly grabbed the attention of the entire sports world, openly questioning how Caitlin Clark has been handled and why the organization continues to allow these problems to spiral. When someone with Leslie's reputation speaks this forcefully, people listen, because her words carry weight that cannot be ignored or brushed aside with generic front office statements. Suddenly, the pressure surrounding the Fever is no longer just online noise from frustrated supporters. It has become a serious public challenge to the leadership running this franchise. Millions of fans have quietly felt for months that Clark has been placed in impossible situations while the people responsible failed to protect the league's biggest attraction. But now those concerns are being voiced loudly by a basketball icon in front of the entire country. And that creates a massive problem for the organization, because once a Hall of Famer starts connecting roster decisions, management failures, and the treatment of the most valuable young star women's basketball has seen in years, every decision made behind those closed doors comes under a microscope. Which leads to the biggest question hanging over this entire situation right now. How does a franchise with the most talked about player in the sport continue finding itself at the center of controversy instead of building around the opportunity of a lifetime? The Indiana Fever now have the most passionate fan base the league has ever seen. Yet somehow the organization still keeps finding itself under massive public criticism from some of the biggest voices in basketball. And now the pressure has reached another level, because Lisa Leslie is openly questioning what has been happening around Caitlin Clark and the people responsible for leading this franchise. Think about how serious that really is. How does a general manager wake up and suddenly see a Hall of Famer publicly raising questions about whether they should still be running the team? What does it say about the situation inside that building when someone with Leslie's reputation decides she can no longer stay quiet? That is why this story is much bigger than it first appears. Leslie's reaction did not come out of nowhere. It came after months of controversial decisions, growing frustration from fans, and a pattern surrounding Clark that has now drawn criticism from one of the most respected legends the sport has ever produced. Ben Daniel broke down the timeline, the backlash, and the specific comments from Leslie that have this front office under intense pressure right now. And the deeper you look into everything that has unfolded, the clearer it becomes why the people running this organization should be extremely nervous about where this conversation is heading next. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And this is where the conversation becomes impossible to ignore, because beyond the debates about coaching, rotations, and roster moves, there is a business reality sitting at the center of everything happening right now. Lisa Leslie made that point crystal clear when she reminded everyone that the WNBA is no longer operating like a small niche league. It is a rapidly growing business built on ratings, ticket sales, sponsorship money, merchandise, and national attention. And there is one name driving those numbers higher than anyone else in the sport today: Caitlin Clark. What Clark has brought to women's basketball goes far beyond highlights and box scores. Her arrival completely changed the level of visibility and commercial attention surrounding the league, creating opportunities and financial growth that simply did not exist at this scale before. The massive television audiences, sold-out arenas, and growing revenue streams are not random coincidences. They are directly connected to the impact Clark has had on the WNBA in an incredibly short amount of time. That is why so many people are struggling to understand how the organization closest to this situation continues making decisions that seem to place that investment under unnecessary pressure. Leslie is not talking about this from an emotional perspective alone. She is speaking as someone who understands how professional sports businesses survive and expand, and she clearly sees danger in the way this franchise has handled the league's most valuable attraction. Because when the player helping elevate salaries, sponsorships, and national relevance is constantly surrounded by controversy and instability, it stops being just a basketball issue and becomes a business problem for the entire league.
Sports is a business. You're talking about multi-million-dollar businesses, yeah, even in the WNBA. She said the quiet part out loud, which shouldn't be quiet. Caitlin Clark's the only one making any money in this league. The only one making any money in this league. And if they keep that up, they're going to mess that up because, yikes. We're starting to see some things that not so good. Ticket prices, etc., and it's because of play style and Stephanie White's offense. But regardless, Lisa Leslie's right. It is a business, and Caitlin Clark is the moneymaker. They just got a CBA because of Caitlin Clark. There's million-dollar players in this league, and I can tell you, you watch some of them making that money, you're like, you don't deserve that. But nonetheless, they're getting it because of Caitlin Clark and what she has done to the business of the league.
So the questions people are asking right now are no longer small ones, and they deserve honest answers. If Caitlin Clark truly is the player who helped push this league into a completely different financial era, then why does the organization around her continue acting like none of this carries real urgency? Why are ticket prices already beginning to cool off when this team should still be the biggest attraction in women's sports? Why does the product on the court feel so disconnected from the fast, exciting style of basketball that made fans fall in love with this franchise in the first place? And maybe the biggest question of all is this: what happens to those massive salaries and the league's new financial momentum if the team responsible for showcasing its biggest star keeps mishandling the situation until fans finally lose patience? Every one of those questions leads back to the same uncomfortable truth. When a once-in-a-generation talent changes the direction of an entire sport, the worst mistake any organization can make is treating that opportunity like it can never disappear. The reality a lot of people are finally starting to acknowledge is that many players across this league are now benefiting financially from the impact Caitlin Clark brought the moment she entered the WNBA. That is not opinion or exaggeration. It is simply the economic reality of what happens when one athlete dramatically increases attention, ticket demand, television audiences, and overall revenue across an entire sport. And what Lisa Leslie clearly understands, along with countless fans watching this unfold, is that this kind of momentum is not guaranteed to last forever. It only continues if the organization benefiting most from it actually protects the investment, builds around the player correctly, and delivers a product that keeps fans emotionally connected and excited to keep showing up. Right now, a growing number of people believe the Indiana Fever front office is failing to do that. And the longer the situation continues without meaningful change, the bigger the risk becomes for the entire league, because opportunities like this do not come around often. That is why this next part of the conversation is so uncomfortable for many people inside women's basketball. The massive growth the WNBA has experienced over the last few years did not suddenly appear because of a marketing campaign or some league-wide strategy that magically worked overnight. It happened because one player arrived and completely changed the level of attention surrounding the sport. It all comes back to the same turning point: one player stepping into the league and completely shifting the economic reality of women's professional basketball almost overnight. Caitlin Clark didn't just bring attention on the court. She triggered a measurable surge in attendance, television viewership, sponsorship interest, and overall commercial value that the league is still riding today. And that ripple effect is now visible in improved contracts and rising opportunities across multiple rosters, benefiting players far beyond any single franchise. But alongside the financial boom, something else has changed just as dramatically: accountability. The league now has a fan base that is larger, louder, and far more engaged than ever before. And this audience is no longer passive. It watches everything. It questions decisions. It reacts in real time and refuses to simply move on from poor execution, regardless of reputation or role. That pressure extends across the entire system. Players on the floor, coaches making in-game decisions, medical staff managing health and recovery, and executives building rosters and shaping long-term direction. Everyone is under the microscope now, and that constant scrutiny has permanently raised the standard for what is acceptable, because the audience driving this growth is no longer willing to overlook mistakes that affect performance, product quality, or the value of what they are watching.
Now, that is a fact. There's nobody who has brought in the bacon like Caitlin Clark, the tide that has lifted all boats. All these chicks is getting paid largely in part to the influx that Caitlin Clark has single-handedly, yes, I said it, single-handedly brought into this league. They should be bowing and saying thank you. Now, I feel like a large part of the reason WNBA GM said this is because of the fan base. Caitlin Clark, not only does she have a large fan base, she has a passionate fan base, and a fan base that holds everyone accountable, from the players to the coach to the front office, GMs, management, everyone involved, training staff, everyone is held accountable.
The questions that come out of all this are serious and worth real reflection. If so much of the WNBA's recent growth in revenue, attention, and opportunity is tied to the impact of Caitlin Clark, does that create a responsibility for everyone benefiting from it to handle her presence with more care and intention? And when a general manager or decision maker makes comments that fans interpret as dismissive, do they fully understand what those words can trigger in the current environment? What's also changing is the league's entire accountability culture. The fan base around this era is not passive anymore. It watches closely, reacts instantly, and holds everyone accountable, from players and coaches to front offices and executives. That level of scrutiny means every decision is now under a microscope, and that is the reality the league is operating in today. When organizations or individuals drift away from the expectations of the audience driving this growth, the consequences are no longer just online debate. They turn into real market signals, reflected in ticket demand, merchandise sales, and overall engagement.